Okay, fun questions here. So, Dana Altman went what I would describe as Dana Altman scorched earth after winning the Pac-12 tournament. He goes up to the mic. This video is just hilarious. You got to find it on YouTube. And if you can't find it, send me a message and I'll send you the clip. Dana Altman is up there talking with N'Faly Dante after they win the tournament, and he's looking at three Pac-12 network. It's Ashley Adamson and two other guys whose names are eluding me right now, and he says, "Well, all you guys, you picked against us, right?" And one guy was trying to save his bacon, like, "No, I didn't." Dana goes, "No, I watched you. I watched you pick against us. I remember telling N'Faly they all, the three guys picked against us." And N'Faly said, "Oh, those clowns picked against." "Oh, I'm just kidding." He was not kidding. Like, the clip is amazing. And I have not seen Dana Altman as happy as he is right now. And look, that can change, of course, if Oregon loses to South Carolina on Thursday. And on tomorrow's show, I'll have a crossover with Andrew Lyon of Locked On South Carolina, get you everything you need to know for that matchup, which takes place on Thursday afternoon. But I thought that that sequence was so good. So Clark Kellogg, who has done a phenomenal job over the years. I love Clark Kellogg. He's been in NBA 2K, which I played back when it was a respectable game. He's been on March Madness, TV panels and whatnot. He said about the Ducks on the selection show, it's hard. I'm going to preface this by saying it is hard, even when you write stuff down, to have that much information that you have to deal with. But Clark Kellogg said the words, "Oregon is finally healthy." Like, if by finally healthy you mean no one who played in the Pac-12 tournament has gotten injured yet, okay, sure. But you can't ever describe this Oregon team as healthy this season. Dante missed 2 months. Biddles barely played. Mookie Cook basically hasn't made his collegiate debut aside from one fast break dunk against Washington. I know nothing about Mookie Cook as a college basketball player. I should, but I don't, because he was hurt all season. Keyshawn Bartholomew, I don't think he comes back to play in the tournament. I know that Nate Biddle will not, because he, got sick, lost a bunch of weight and such. So hopefully Biddle's back next year and could get a medical red shirt, because I think Biddle's a fantastic player and somebody's going to have to replace Dante. But Dante is still here for now, of course. So, a question came in from the flock over at Subtext, maybe for the mailbag, how do you see the team injury history affecting us this week? Well, according to Clark Kellogg, we're all healthy. But again, this, and then something I tweeted out when ESPN had what appears to be an AI-generated summary of, Oregon's season on the bracket when you click on a preview and just kind of get an understanding of what's going on with this team. ESPN thought for a brief moment in time before it got corrected, maybe it's because of the pressure applied by Locked On Ducks. I don't know. I'm just suggesting. I'm just saying pressure was applied and then an adjustment was made. You be the judge. That'd be a post hoc ergo Proctor hoc fallacy, of course. But they said Will Richardson was going to be an important piece, and I was like, that's interesting, because Will Richardson doesn't play for this team. Curious. They also said Oregon had 19 wins. Incorrect. They have 22. So, I think it's 22. I don't even know the answer to that question. But they definitely 23. Sorry, 23. So, yeah, I think that see how quick and easy that was to get that right? I did that in less than 2 seconds, and ESPN couldn't take the time. But maybe, as we apparently saw in the Pac-12 tournament, that all serves to motivate Oregon and, put a chip on their shoulder and everything like that. So maybe I'm here for it. Maybe I'm here for all these factors coming into play that, could very easily be relayed from a coaching staff to a team to give them that edge, because sometimes that's what it can come down to. So the early betting lines are kind of crazy. James Crepia, the Oregonian, tweeted this out that, I'm pretty sure it was Crepia. He tweeted out that the Oregon-South Carolina game is one of the few matchups in the NCAA tournament where both teams are favored depending on which sportsbook you look at. So going, from FanDuel over to MGM or like all these other sports books and whatnot, And I actually hadn't checked the FanDuel line, so I indeed shall do so here. Oregon against South Carolina is currently South Carolina -1.5. But if you look in some other places, it's Oregon -1 or Oregon -1.5. So it should be a very tight competitive game. Oregon was an 11.5-point underdog against Arizona, 3.5-point favorite against UCLA, 2.5-point dog against Colorado. So this is the third straight game that, at least in some capacity, Oregon will be an underdog. They're 2-0 in their last couple, so obviously they have to keep that going because it's one and done in the NCAA tournament. But yeah, it should be a really, really good game back in Pittsburgh. So, South Carolina doesn't have to travel quite as far. You'd think if there were a fan advantage, it would certainly belong to the Gamecocks in this game. But I think Oregon is more than capable of winning, not just one game, but I think they can win a couple. I don't know if they can get past the Sweet 16. That might be matchup dependent, but everything can be matchup dependent. So I think Oregon is in a good spot. And as I talked about in yesterday's show, I like where they are in terms of the quadrant of the bracket they're in. Because Tennessee, I don't trust in the NCAA tournament. Purdue, I never trust. Though off losing to a 16 seed, maybe they pull a 2019 Virginia and go win the whole thing. They could. Kansas is not healthy. They're the 4. Creighton's the 3. Creighton's dangerous. That was an Elite 8 team last year. Creighton's a good basketball team. And that's who Oregon would face in the second round. But got to get through the Gamecocks first. And we'll talk about that in depth so you know everything that you need to know about the South Carolina matchup after tomorrow's show going into Thursday. But a couple more questions here. I'll start with one from Bud. We hear a lot about Oregon's investment and success in NIL for football. How are we doing with NIL in basketball and other sports? Is our current lack of success in both basketball programs possibly connected to NIL problems? Well, this question came in before Oregon won the Pac-12 tournament, but the point does stand. The NIL collective, remember, is separate from the university. Division Street is not affiliated with the University of Oregon, so they can put their money wherever they feel like it. I don't know if the women's basketball investment is fully there, and you've seen some key players transfer out. So on the NIL front, that could certainly be a factor there. I think for the men's team, what my understanding of it is, I don't have detailed or public records of this, but my understanding is it is solid. Not great, not at the level of football spending and commitment from Division Street, but it is solid. And I think that you have to have this as a part of recruiting going forward. You have to be willing to give some NIL money to Jackson Shellstad and KJ Evans and any transfers you might bring in. The Stojakovic kid from Stanford's in the portal. Watch for that, by the way. Oregon was after him, chose Stanford. He's the son of NBA legend Peja Stojakovic, who I remember watching growing up, and that makes me feel old, which I am at some level. But I think that's just a name to watch. But that, again, more of a postseason question there. I think Oregon is fine, but I don't get the sense that it's outrageously over the top good. So certainly more could be better, but I don't think it's a hindrance for Oregon's recruiting. I mean, look at the way they just recruited, right? We don't know what Mookie Cook is, but I know that KJ Evans and Jackson Shellstad are studs, absolute studs. So certainly that can't be such a negative that you can't get guys like that, because they've gotten guys like that, and I think will going forward. So last one here. This from Bremen, probably Bremen. Vitally important question, Spencer. Every year that the Ducks make March Madness, I pick them to go all the way in my bracket and give it a Ducks-related name. Should my bracket this year be called Dante's Inferno or the Infallible Dante? That's a tough one. I like Dante's Inferno. I mean, that guy is hotter than donut grease from the floor. And no, he doesn't shoot jumpers. It's all layups and dunks and post moves. But guess what? Most guys don't go 12 for 10. He could have gone 9 for 12, and we'd be talking about what a great game he had. And if he'd gone 9 for 12, Oregon might not win the game, which is crazy. But he has been exceptional, and certainly I've loved the way that they've used him at both ends of the floor and allowed him to thrive. But good question there. I would go with Dante's Inferno on that one. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.